Welcome to this edition of Morgan You Asked For podcast. Joined this week by Zach Tremmel. Trevor's out with work this week. I want to thank Zach for joining us. June in the month is just a little bit slower than normal for sports, but we do got quite a few topics this week. Caitlin Clark should return this weekend. The U.S. Open is this weekend. And then the house settlement, which is, and then the Cyclone Hawkeye ramification. That's kind of our rundown today. And we'll get there. We're going to start with Caitlin Clark and her return. Zach, just a couple questions for you. One, how much were you watching the WNBA and Caitlin? Well, I shouldn't say, how much did you watch Caitlin Clark? And then how much did you watch the NBA? And then have you watched it at all since she's been hurt?
I have not watched since she's been hurt at all. When she was playing, I probably tuned into every game for a little bit at all times. I mean, she's obviously the one that drives it. And, since she's been out, I have kind of paid attention to the scores just to see if they need to stay in the playoff contention. So I will check and see how they do. But I haven't watched a minute of any of the Fever games since she's been out.
I tuned in. We got home Saturday afternoon, evening. I actually did turn on the game. We're moving right now, so it's one of those. I just turned it on. We were doing stuff, so it was on, and then every once, by the time we got home and turned it on, it was already a blowout. But other than that, I'm just like you. I turn on the score. I want to see how they're doing, and then anymore, you can go to Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, whatever platform you want to use, and find the highlights and see what Caitlin Clark is up to, and see her on the sidelines and everything. They did come out and say, I think yesterday after practice, that she is not playing tonight, but I think the plan is for her to play Saturday.
Yeah, I mean they're going to be cautious with her. I mean, she's basically the golden ticket, and you don't want to rush it back. I don't think it's real difficult to make the playoffs either in the WNBA, so I think they're going to get in there. Obviously, they'd like a higher seed, so I understand what they're doing. I mean, they want her back, obviously, for TV and all that, but you also don't want to lose her for the year. So she'll get back, and I think the Fever are doing okay without her, but when she gets back, I think they're obviously one of the top-tier teams, and that's where they want them to be playing at come playoff time.
And I don't know if you listened to Trevor and I talk the last couple of weeks, but if she needs to sit, I think they said originally 4 games. And I think it's going to be 6 now when she misses tonight's game. If she even needs to miss 2 more games in order for her to be as close to 100% as you can be, you're not going to be ever 100% during a season. That's just the reality of professional sports. But the WNBA and the Fever need her in the playoffs. And right now they're 500, I think, or maybe even a game up 500 now. So they are not losing ground without her in the playoff race. So, it's not like they're 1-4 or 1-5 without her. So they're going to be super cautious, and as they should, because she's the golden ticket for the Fever and the golden ticket for the WNBA. And she is proving that with all the ratings decline and the ticket price decline since she's been hurt.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, your first question, if I was watching, and I haven't watched it all. I did kind of tune in when they played or check the score a little bit when they were playing, Chicago there, just to see how that went, but it turned into a blowout. But yeah, they can't rush her back. If she's not in the playoffs, then, nobody's going to watch. It's just the way it is. And, I could care less to watch. I mean, I wouldn't even probably tune in for a Fever game if they were in the championship. So I tune in to watch Caitlin, and hopefully she gets back.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Anything else on the WNBA? I think that's really it. Just wanted to get your opinion there. Until she gets back, there's really not much to talk about in our opinion with that. There is the Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark, but we've talked about that enough, and we don't need to spend any more time on that. Next, I do want to talk. The house settlement came out Friday night, 5:00. Just your prototypical news dump where it misses all the news cycles and no one can talk about it till Monday morning, and that's already 2.5 days later. It seems to be a step in the right direction. It's not perfect. All the schools and conferences are going to sign an agreement that they're going to follow the rules, but we all know in real life that as soon as rules are set or standards are set, there are people that are trying to break them. And that's been the NCAA and college athletics for 100 years. It's been that way. And to think that this is going to be all sit around and kumbaya and we're all going to follow the rules and do it the way you're supposed to is not realistic.
Yeah, I mean I've read it, and I still each school has like $21.5 million, but then you can still get NIL money.
Yes. So
an Alabama quarterback could still get an extra $4 million on the side to
as long as it's legit. Let's just say, I know you do too, but Travis and Ross in the morning and some of the I listen to Miller and Condon and they've had Brent Bloom on, and then just Williams and Bloom on Cyclone Fanatic have a show, and obviously Bloom is the in charge of the We Will collective, and this is kind of how he said it. 20.5 or $21 million, whatever that number is, there's no questions. You could pay one player that money, and that's okay if that's what your school decides to do. But anything over that number has to go to that Deloitte clearinghouse and get approved. And the issue with that is going to be, let's use Iowa State as an example. The Suck Up family and Suck Up Manufacturing donates a lot of money to Iowa State and the athletic program. Well, if let's just use Rocco Beck does a commercial for him, which is okay, but let's say they're paying him $2 million for that commercial, which is way more than probably it should be. They're going to turn that down. Now, if Gatorade paid Rocco Beck $2 million, it'd probably be okay. Like when Caitlin Clark was getting paid by State Farm when she was still in college, that would have been okay because State Farm doesn't probably have a relationship with Iowa. It's just the people that already have relationships that are donors or boosters. Let's just say, I wanted to pay Rocco Beck $1 million, because I'm an Iowa State that person and I've already been a booster. I couldn't do that. But I would say if you wanted to pay Rocco Beck $1 million, you probably could because you aren't an established Iowa State booster.
Yeah, and like you said, it's a start, but I still think there's the people that are deciding this, we'll see how it all transpires here in the next 2 or 3 years, but it is a start, and I guess we'll kind of see where it goes from here. But like you said, people have been cheating in athletics for as long as you can go back, and I think you're still going to have it, and we'll just kind of see where the negatives are and what needs to be changes, and hopefully they just continue to evolve and get to where it's the best we can get at this point.
Yeah, and I think it's really good for Iowa and Iowa State because they're never going to be. I'm just going to use Texas Tech as an example. They're paying $50 million for their athletes for this coming year, and let's just use that $21 million. So $39 million is going to be paid that's already been paid or will be paid between now and July 1st. So there's going to be a lot of athletes to get a lot of cash in the next 3 weeks because this all starts July 1. So let's just say, well, that BYU basketball player is getting $8 million. Well, BYU is not going to spend $8 million or the $20 million on one basketball player. That's just not how that's going to work, I don't think. So he's probably going to get $7.5 million or maybe even all $8 million in a check right now. And then they won't have to pay him any out of that $20 million.
Yeah, I mean, and it's also, potentially going to lead to what, why even have some of these sports? You're not going to.
That's a whole and that's the ramifications. I think Iowa baseball could be in real trouble, even though they're pretty good. Your gymnastics teams, your tennis teams, your golf teams, track and field. Now, Title IX is going to be a part of this somehow. I don't know how they're going to get around all that. And then what also is going to happen is I think those will still have teams and everything, but there's going to be 0 scholarships. And so if you want to go play golf for Iowa, I mean, obviously you're still getting recruited, but you're not going to get any money because all that money is going to go to the sports that make money. Or those are going to turn more into like a D3 model where it's a club sport. And, where just you're not part of the NCAA would be my guess.
Yeah, and you're going to get certain schools. I mean, like Creighton, for example. What do they have outside of men's basketball that is revenue making that they would even pay another athlete for?
Nothing, and that's going to be an issue. And the Big East is a lot like that. St. John's, Villanova, Butler, all those, DePaul, all those schools are one sport revenue.
Yeah, so that's I don't know. That seems I don't know. They're going to have to work through it, but yeah, you could see Creighton spending $21 million just on men's basketball.
Yeah,
if they had it, and
they
being an
probably
absolute powerhouse.
Yeah, and they should. The one thing that schools, that Iowa came out with flight funds or whatever yesterday that's what going to be their thing, and it was the 4 sports that kind of announced it. Football, men's and women's basketball, and wrestling. And Iowa State obviously has not come out, but I would assume that's going to be the same 4 sports for Iowa State that they're going to try to fund the best they can. But there's other schools that do things differently. I was listening to somebody that they're using Wisconsin as an example. Well, Iowa women's basketball has beat Wisconsin like 31 times ago. So Wisconsin women's basketball is awful, but their volleyball team is one of the best in the country. And so they're going to fund their volleyball team and not their basketball team. And I don't even know if they have I assume they have wrestling, and they're not funding their wrestling. So they're going to go, and then like Iowa is really bad at volleyball or women's volleyball. So they're not going to fund volleyball, and they're going to fund wrestling. Minnesota and Wisconsin in this could try to fund hockey. There's every school and everything. And then, like teams in the South, baseball makes money. Like the SEC schools and some of the ACC schools, they're probably going to try to fund baseball, but Rick Heller and the Iowa Hawkeye baseball team's not going to get any money out of that. They might still have the team, but they're not getting any of that $20.5 million. There's no way.
Yeah, that's just where you look at Alabama, they're going to pay their football. Their basketball is really good. I mean, I just can't imagine there's not going to be NIL deals on the side that are still just outrageous to keep those. Otherwise, I feel like they almost are at a disadvantage when you got to split up all that money for, like you said, 4 sports.
Yeah, and that's where I do think let's just use, Iowa baseball as an example. That Mueller or, whatever, their best pitcher. If he went and got, if a car dealership signed him to a $2,000 deal for coming and signing 3 times, I think that would still be fine. And that would not count against the $20.5 million or $21 million. Just outside that, but obviously if it's show up 3 times, get paid $2 million, then they're going to probably not approve that.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting next few years to see how this all shakes out, to see if some of these top powers can stay, where they're at in all these sports, and some of these hidden gems per se, like Creighton or something, can really step out and take the lead. Or like a Gonzaga, I mean, they have men's basketball where they have the funds, they could really do something special there.
One other thing I haven't really talked to you about on the same idea, but the football playoff, the 5+11 model or the 4-4, 2-2, 1-1, whatever it is. Which model do you prefer, and then which model is best for college football, in your opinion?
Well, as an Iowa fan, I would say the 4-4 is great for the Big Ten because the Big Ten is, and I don't think it's always going to get that many in. So if you can lock in the fourth,
that's the Big Ten one. They want 4 automatic
for sure. I mean, that's a highly obtainable spot for Iowa, in my opinion. I mean, if you can finish in the fourth place once or twice every 10 years, you're guaranteed to be in the playoffs. That's pretty good. They go to the other model, I think it's going to be a lot harder. So, like I said, as a Hawkeye fan, you'd be crazy not to want that. So, now the SEC, on the other hand, I think things can change, but just from my opinion and watching the SEC for the last 30 years, I think they're a shoe-in for 4 every year, and they could probably get 5 or 6 at times, just how good I think that conference is. So,
Oh, absolutely. That's what, like, originally, and they've talked about this on the shows I listen to, and I know you listen to some of the same shows. Originally, you think the 4-4-2-2 model is not good for like the Big 12 and Big 10 because you're guaranteed half as many. But you're guaranteed 2, and that 5 and 11 model, you're not guaranteed 2.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
like this last year, Iowa State was 16 and 17, right at that, as the runner up in the Big 12 conference. Now, BYU was right there as well because people do forget there was a 4-way tie for the Big 12 regular season championship. It was Colorado, BYU, Arizona State, and Iowa State. And it just the way it worked out, Iowa State and Arizona State had the tiebreakers. And then Brent Bloom, who's in charge of the We Will and is on Williams and Bloom, he's like, the reason I want 5 and 11 is if there is a year where you have 3 or 4 teams deserving, then you will have it. You'll have that chance. And then the other thing is you are making them prove it on the field. He goes, yes, the SEC and the Big Ten are going to get more teams than the Big 12, but at least you're making them prove it on the field instead of just saying you're getting twice as many just because of who you are. So I do agree with that. They are getting in because who they are, but at least they did have to prove it on the field. It's not a guarantee.
And there's some issues but like if you're going to guarantee the Big 12 2, like last year is Iowa State getting penalized since they lost in that Big 12 championship, and then they're going to take Colorado or something, or
yep, guaranteed.
That's what I don't like about it when you don't have a conference where you play everybody.
Right.
And we've made these conferences so big. If I could take over college football, I would make conferences where you got 8 teams or something where they can all play each other, but that's not going to happen.
That ship has sailed.
That's where you're getting penalized for having, like, you're better off not playing in the conference championship.
Yep. Well,
that's for sure.
What year was it that Missouri and Kansas were ranked number 1 and 2?
Yep.
Missouri beat Kansas in Arrowhead to go to the Big 12 championship. Missouri went and got killed by Texas or Oklahoma. I can't remember who it was. Missouri went to the Orange Bowl or Kansas went to the Orange Bowl and won it with Mangino. Missouri went to like the Cotton Bowl when it was not part of the BCS or whatever, whatever we had at that time. I can't remember what year that was, but
yeah, I mean, what I would do if they went to the 4-4-2, you play the fourth and fifth team play in the Big Ten championship for the fourth spot. Right. And put your one. That'd be a hell of a game, and you'd put.
Yeah.
Mean a lot.
And then in the Big 12 situation, your champion goes, and then you play your 2 and 3.
Yeah, that would be a much better game. But yeah, there's. It's just a whole new world now. It's hard to dissect it all. You just got to kind of go with it at this point and adjust as we go.
Yeah, I agree. We're getting old, Zach, and you think like our parents when they were our age, in the mid 90s, what was so different then for them that was really different back in the day? I don't know what it was, but it's just crazy, around 1970 to 1995 and now, 2000 to 25, when we were young adults to now.
It seems like it could be pretty easily, something could easily be done, but I don't know if somehow we could never figure it out, even in the way back then when you couldn't play everybody and then they'd have a national champion and they never even played each other.
Yeah.
Then we went to the BCS and then you'd leave out the number 3 and you'd have an AP champion and someone else. I don't know. I think maybe.
What would you think of? I don't think the BCS was all that bad. Again, the argument was it was only 2.
Yeah.
If you went with 16 or whatever it is with BCS type system, or do you still need some people involved?
I don't think you really need people involved. If I was running it, I would take 12 and your top 4 get a bye.
Right.
And then you play out the others. And I mean, if we're arguing about 12th and 13th, it is what it is. But we could both come up with multiple scenarios where the best team we felt like didn't even get a shot to play in it, or didn't win it somehow. I mean, there was times when, I don't know, Florida State and Florida would play, and then the winner didn't even go on, or Nebraska had chances.
Yep.
I don't know. It's just, I don't mind the computer where where you come up with all the parameters of what computer numbers you're using, and then you spit it out, and those top 12 or those top 16 play. Play at home. I would play first 2 rounds at homes, but again, you're going to kill your bowls. Bowls you might as well just be done with them at this point.
Right. I mean, that's about that way anyway. In my opinion,
they're not going to play the best players aren't going to play, which there's really no point. It's just like
well, what needs to happen with that is the bowl games need to just, like let's use last year, Iowa State versus Miami. That bowl game needs to pay Cam Ward $50,000 or $100,000 to play.
Yeah.
That's what just needs to happen. And maybe the school doesn't get any money. Right now the school and conference get money. Well, maybe they don't get any. It all goes to players, which is fine. And then, obviously your top player, Cam Ward, Heisman Trophy winner, number 1 pick in the draft, you might have to pay him $500,000 to play. And that's okay. But at least you get him to play.
Well, and those players should not get their money that the school has to pay them if they sit out of a bowl game, in my opinion. But which to them, it's probably nothing because they're sitting out to go to the NFL. But why waste that money on a player that's going to be getting paid by the NFL when you can use it for somebody else the next year or something?
And I would assume, and this, again, what happens when you assume things, when they do, because these are getting direct payments from the school. Before it was, you were technically not getting money to play football or to play basketball. It was NIL money. Now I think it really is pay from the school to play basketball, to play football. So I would assume they're going to have contracts that say you have to play every game or you forfeit a percentage for each game that you miss, would be my guess. Now, obviously, if you're hurt, you still get paid. I mean, I hope they do on that because that does happen. But if you're choosing not to play, then you're forfeiting a percentage of your money. I would sure hope.
Yeah, you would think. And then we're going to start running into, are you hurt? Are you not hurt? Whose doctor is in charge of that? Yeah. And it's just the landscape of college athletics now.
Well, here's what it is. It's pro sports. And no one wants to really say that it is. And
yeah, I agree.
It's pro sports with no rules.
And if it's pro sports, then why not salary cap every sport to be the same? Like if you're going to have baseball, you could spend every program can spend up to $5 million a year if you want. Now, could Iowa do that? No. Could LSU? Yes, but just to hypothetically give Creighton men's basketball the opportunity to spend $21 million as opposed to Iowa and Iowa State that have to spread it out just seems crazy to me.
Yeah, and that's real life. And then if these rules didn't come into play, then you got schools like BYU and Texas Tech that seem to have unlimited funds
Oh yeah,
for everything. Now,
yeah, it's something. It's just the way it is.
All right, and then kind of our last thing here. We don't have to go real long today. Is the U.S. Open is this week? Oakmont Country Club. Is this the toughest course in America?
Yeah, a lot of the pros are saying it's the toughest course they've ever been on. So yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of people say it might be if they set it up right and it gets hard, it's arguably the toughest course out there. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I think 2016, Dustin Johnson won at -5, I believe.
-4. I think he got a penalty.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah,
yeah, -5, -4. Yeah, there was a penalty there at the end. -4. Then I think Ernie Els won at +5.
yeah, it was over par.
And then I think Jack won it also like at -10, like many years ago. But it is one of the harder, and it's the U.S. Open where par is a good score. Do you enjoy watching golfers struggle, or do you want the 12 to 14 under to win it like most major championships?
No, my favorite major to watch is the Masters by far,
Right.
but I do love the U.S. Open. When I'd love to see one tournament a year where one under to evens puts you in a shot to win the thing. And I know the players hate it and they complain and moan, but that's the way it is. And I when the U.S. Open gets extremely hard, it's fun to watch.
Right.
You go into the rough, you're almost guaranteed a bogey. I mean, it's just the way it is.
And that's where, like in 2016 when Dustin Johnson won it, obviously he's a big hitter. But Zach Johnson got like 8th. Jim Furyk was right in the mix. He might even been 2nd. It was kind of shorter but super straight hitters. And so that brings a few more people into play that might not normally be in contention for a major championship in the U.S. Open, because usually big time hitters have to get there, like Bryson, like Rory. But both Rory, especially Rory right now, can't hit a driver. So I think you can't put money on him to win this. There's no way he doesn't hit it straight enough.
Yeah, I agree. Since he's got his driver pulled there for being too hot, he struggled. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would say Scotty and Bryson are the clear-cut top two to pick, but it is the U.S. Open. I mean, you'd be a fool not to take Scotty Scheffler. I mean, he's as good as we've seen since Prime Tiger, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, when he is on fire, there is no one that can touch him.
And yeah, he's going to have to play average for others to hang in there, and he could. I mean, you missed the fairway by a little bit here. All of a sudden, you're in rough that you can't get out, and it should be a fun tournament. I really enjoy watching this. I mean, like I said, the Masters, there's just something about that place, but this is a fun one to watch. And to be honest, golf, when it's not a major, it's not enjoyable to me anymore. I hardly watch it.
The best players aren't playing against each other.
Yeah, so when you get a major, it's tune in, it's must see TV, and you get the best there. And we have a few of those left. Unfortunately, that's it.
Yeah, that's when Scotty won the Memorial, obviously it's one of the best tournaments on the tour. But he was beating people that you don't really know that much about. He didn't beat Bryson. He didn't beat Koepka. He didn't beat Dustin Johnson. He didn't beat Phil Mickelson. Not that all those guys are on top of their games right now, but those are still the guys you want to see.
Oh yeah, and that's what. Did you hear Jack Nicklaus talk about it?
He went off. Yeah,
he was blunt. He's like, Scotty looked at that leaderboard and knew I don't have to do anything amazing here to win this because there's no one here that can catch me. And I mean, he's pretty. I mean, it was pretty blunt, but it was the facts. And yeah, I hope somebody can run with Scotty and we get a Scotty Bryson or maybe Rory. You know, Xander's kind of struggled this year, but he could get it going. So
yeah, I would. Do you think it will be the guys at the top of the leaderboard with a golf course this hard, or do you think it might bring more people into play?
At this point, I would lean towards just the way golf's been lately. I think the top guys will go and run away with it, and you're going to look at. I mean, I would be shocked if Scheffler's not in the mix on Sunday for sure.
Right. Now, again, on Thursday afternoon, you're going to have somebody, and probably even through Saturday afternoon, somebody's going to be there that you've never heard of. And that's just US Open. That happens. I remember when Jason Gore was that guy. And I think that was a Beth Page, or one of the times it was a Beth Page.
Was that last year or was it 2 years ago that pro from California made a run? And
yeah. Oh, Michael Block or whatever.
Yeah, he got really popular out of this. I think it was 2 years ago, and he qualified for it again last year for finishing in the top 10. But
it's fun to watch. And as golfers, we know how hard that stuff is. And I've seen them. Did you see them push mowing the roughs?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the guy walking around the bunkers and just holding the mower up. And
yeah, it'll be definitely must-watch TV. So, yeah, like I said, I hope it gets really hard, and I hope they all struggle. And I like to hear them moan and groan about it in their press conferences. But you got to earn it, and this is this is what the U.S. Open's all about. I mean, maybe Brooks Koepka finally shows up again because this is where he plays good a lot. So we'll see.
Yeah, do you watch the live golf tournaments? I know you're more of a live fan than some of us, just because. Do you watch them or not?
No, I never watch it. I mean, I was gonna tune in last Sunday because Phil was in contention. He was only a stroke out, and then it was like in a delay or something. But now I don't ever pay attention. I probably watch more of Bryson's YouTube channel than I watch of any golf right now, other than majors. It's that majors and Bryson's YouTube channel.
Yeah, I do too. Like his, trying to break 50 with different players, or taking a youth set of clubs, or trying to break a public course record, or whatever he does. Yeah. They are fun to watch. I just didn't know if Brooks was playing better or not. I mean, I know he hasn't won as much, but
yeah, I don't have a clue. All I know is Mickelson played really good last weekend, so there's I just he'll have a shot, but I think he's too old.
I just saw that one shot out of the rough where he was standing in the bunker. It was like about behind him that he made, or whatever it was.
Yep.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about, Zach? Or
no, I think, like you said, it's kind of a slow time. I mean, there's not a lot to really follow. I mean, I like baseball, but I don't tune in a lot. The Mets are playing good. I know that. So, but I'll start tuning into that come September and watch them probably piss away a 10-game lead with 30 days to go, like they like to do. But yeah, like I said, not a lot going on right now in the summertime. So this weekend should be good.
Before a couple minutes here, I know we do have some Sigourney people that do watch this. I do want to congratulate you on a great season with your golf team. Jordan played awesome. Solon, really good. Solon played in an invite event. They playing a lot of tournaments this summer and everything, and going to continue to be. How many guys you return and everything else like that?
Yeah, we had 2 seniors, so we return our 1, 2, and 3, and then probably our 5-man. So, yeah, we should be very solid again. Yeah, Jordan and Solon are both playing. Solon plays in quite a bit of them. Jordan's starting to get into a few. They're kind of got into it late, so a lot of the 16 to 18 is filled up already. So you got to kind of know how that is, but you got to get in there a lot quicker than what I anticipated. So we're on the waiting list for like 3 or 4, and I think we're signed up for 3 others. So hopefully we can get in off the waiting list, but we'll see. I know the 16 through 18 is kind of the most popular one. So
that's what I've not had to deal with that yet with Tyler. But I know it comes, and you see that like when you go sign up for this, what you look, and it's all waiting lists. And, obviously with the female golfers, never a waiting list. And then usually, you get to that 13, 14, and then obviously 16 to 18, they start getting filled up. But no, it's good. Baseball team ranked number 2, I believe, as well. Jordan playing a little varsity and mainly JV, right?
Yeah, they are. They're a fun team to watch. He pitches a little bit. He's probably made 3 appearances in varsity so far. So yeah, he pitches a little bit. They have a very good team. So hopefully they can make a nice run again and get back to Carroll this year.
Is it back in Carroll for that class or whatever?
Yes, it is.
Because isn't one of them going to Sioux City or something this year?
I think 3A and 4A are.
Yeah. So, all righty. Well, thanks a lot, Zach, and good luck, and we'll talk to you.
All right. Thank you.